Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Faith Farm is here again. Yeah, they're everywhere, but we love to have Faith Farm and anybody we can find from them. But most of the time, we always get poor Dean Webb. He's always having to run from one farm to the next place, to the radio, the television. But he is their spokesperson, and he's their, I will say, the divine leader. I love that word. So anyway, we do have Dean Webb, but he brought a special prize for us today. Troy Hardy. And Troy Hardy is someone whom I have known now for almost 10 years, ever since I've been working with them. And Troy is around. If you'll be lucky to find him, because he's always in and out and doing things. And so welcome to the show. You're a newbie on our show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Have you ever done a radio show before?
No, ma'am.
Oh, so you're, pardon the expression, a virgin.
Oh. Yeah, he says, I'm going to come and just be observant. And of course,
Yeah, right.
anybody who knows Anita knows.
Right.
I'm not going to let you sit on the sidelines.
Right. But you know, Troy, it is a big responsibility. And for people who just drive in and they think they're going to walk into this big thrift shop, they have no idea. I'll bet anyone that comes there just to look never walks away without something.
Well, if they do, they'll be back. That's for sure.
Well, why don't we start out and talk about what your position is, what it's been, and then we'll let Dean give us a little update.
Well, currently I was the director of the Faith Farm campus, which I still am the director of the Faith Farm campus.
The Boynton one.
The Boynton
We have
campus.
three, yeah.
But my job was to do the everyday operations of the campus, keep the store running, keep the farm going. As far we have staff and employees there that we house. It's just a big operation from day to day.
I always tell him he's the mayor of a small town.
That's lovely.
He's got 88 acres. He's got hundreds of students and staff members that are housed there, that come to work there, the men and women in the dorms there. He's got his own garage. He's got his own recycling plant. He's a appliance repair store, a thrift store, third largest actually new furniture dealer, and got a church. He's over a chapel, the preacher, and we do job searches in the career center. Between the three farms, we do 500,000 meals a year. And Troy's got his own water plant and sewer plant, totally self-contained on the Boynton Beach campus. So he's like the mayor of a small town.
Okay, so this is really important to talk about. How did you get there? I think that's a good story, right? Let's start with that.
Well,
You weren't an angel that flew in.
No, ma'am. I came to Faith Farm in 1998. My sister brought me there. I had a substance abuse problem, and she wanted me to get help. And she brought me to Faith Farm to get help.
And when was that?
1998, February of 1998. And I had no idea that I was going to be where I'm at today. I thought I was just going to go there for 8 months and go back to work and live a normal life. I had no idea that God had a bigger plan for me. And that plan was to run a thrift store, meet interesting people. That was the one thing I loved about the thrift store. There was interesting people that came in every day. There were dealers, people that owned businesses that wanted to buy furniture from Faith Farm to keep their businesses going. And I just became intrigued with that. And it just did my heart so well for us to go out and pick up furniture. You bring it back and you put a price on it, and someone walks in and say, I like that. That's unique. What are you asking for it? And the person actually pay a price that you asked for, and they walk away happy. Everybody walks away happy. That intrigued me to want to keep doing that. I mean, it just brought a joy over my heart that I just can't explain.
Was
today.
it easy for you to stop drinking?
Yes, I never had a problem with drinking. My problem was crack cocaine back in the late 80s. Is where I got started smoking crack cocaine. And once I got away from the environment that I was around, it was easy. It was easy for me because that was not my lifestyle. That wasn't who I was. I made a mistake, and I was ready to clean it up. And after about 3 or 4 months, I knew that I wasn't going back to my habit.
Well, okay. So now, how many years have passed?
Oh my goodness, Anita!
You've been there. You've been
That's
with
20
us
years.
18 years as employee, 20 years counting the time in the program.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dean, I think it's your time to say a little bit about him from from an executive perspective.
Well, I first of all, when I came to Faith Farm, I had to undo a lot of preconceived notions that were poor, that were bad, that I had. That everybody who ever got sucked into drugs or alcohol were just non-motivated, low life, homeless, unmotivated people, and I found out when I came here that I got every preconceived notion that I had about drug and alcohol use totally shattered, because some of the smartest people I've met at the 3 Faith Farms that have come through the program, they just got derailed. Sometimes it was peer pressure, sometimes it was something else, but then they got hooked in doing it, and it wasn't because they were dumb, wasn't because they were homeless, wasn't because they were stupid, they just got hooked. And once you're hooked, it's really hard to get off. And so I've been at Faith Farm for 11 years. Troy was already here, and I quickly recognized his skill set in terms of management.
So let me ask him that. So where did you get that management skill set? You graduated from high school?
Yes.
And so did you know about yourself?
Yes. I mean, like Dean said earlier, I made a mistake. Life wasn't always that way.
So what were you doing?
Well, I was actually working. I was working a friend of mine. We owned a cleaning service together, and but I just couldn't keep a dollar in my pocket.
But what you're doing now, management. Sometimes people have to go to big time schools to learn what you have to do.
Well, it's on the job training.
That's true.
So you can learn really fast, and a lot of the dealers that came into Faith Farm taught me how to look at furniture and taught me what to look for, and that's where I got my skill from.
But you also manage people, and that's a real another skill.
Well,
Yeah.
my family's from the South. My family's from Georgia, and we're homebody people. We love people. If we cook a Sunday dinner, you had to come sit and eat too.
Right. It's called love, and I'm not going to go through it now, but in the discussions I've been having about this whole new CBD and the marijuana and what's going on with the cannabis, they say that the way really to enjoy all this is to give love. Love is the key and the secret to all medication.
Yes.
And you give that at Faith Farm. I've seen that when I attended your graduations or your parties. The men hug each other. They love each other. And that's important, isn't it, Troy?
Yes, because, for the 8, 9, 10 months they're there, and that's all they have is each other. Some guys don't have family, so they become attached to one another. And
in the Navy, we call that foxhole buddies. You're all in one thing together against something. In that case, it's not war; it's a war against addiction, their own addictions, and they're all enmeshed in this program together, and they support each other, and they're foxhole buddies trying to get through this together.
And one thing that I've admired about you, Dean, is that you are so family oriented. Your greatest joy is to go back to Atlanta, where you're from, and to be with your family. And you have a big family now, and that those familiar relationships, I believe, will keep a lot of your family on a straight line. Because even no matter who you come from, there are problems. But if they know they all come together and there's love there, that will be solving a lot of things that might come up.
Yeah. And I interviewed a girl. I was doing a Facebook interview live with a young lady in our women's program, and she'd been through multiple rehabs. She was from New Jersey, visiting her father down in Jupiter, and a guy saw her shooting up and stopped and said, "Here, you need to call this number. It's for Faith Farm." And it changed my life. So she applied and came in. So I asked her. I said, "Okay, your dad's well off, and he sent you all these expensive programs and everything, and yet you just keep using." And I said, "What's the main difference at Faith Farm versus all those other programs you went through?" And she says, "Oh, well, all the others, I could tell when it was time for the insurance check to come in." She said, I could just tell. She said, but when I came to Faith Farm, it was just like I was just cocooned in love. Everybody loved me. They were non-judgmental. She said, I just felt love when I came here. She said, it's just so different. She said, I know I didn't pay anything to come, and it's free, but I just felt the love. And so you hit the nail on the head. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, we are hearing that everywhere. But, of course, it is shown where you are. So, Dean, you came in and said to congratulate Troy. Tell us about that.
Well, Monday he was made director of operations over all 3 farms. He is, I jokingly said, man, you're going to be overworked. And he broke out laughing in my office. He said, Dean, I'm already overworked. What's going to change? Well, nothing except you get more work. No, he just, it's just, he has such a knack for the retail business. And every time I've sent him out to Okeechobee or down to Fort Lauderdale to look at the store and make changes, the sales immediately went up. You could tell that you could statistically see the difference after he visited. So I thought, because most of 85% of our revenues don't come from donors. I wish they did, but they don't. They come from our micro business enterprises, mainly our thrift stores. And so what better than to have the guy that's got really one of the number 1 thrift stores in the whole country?
Well, let's go back to the donors, because we have to put our little words in there. We do this. So everyone gets Boomer Times, and so many people read it, and we hear about it. And, of course, you'll always see a fascinating article every month. And you'll see some advertising also where they're having all sorts of events or weekends or different things. But we
got a sale this weekend.
Okay. You're going to have a sale this weekend. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So everybody needs to go there. And sometimes they get 50% off, sometimes 75% off. It's just, I always feel guilty that you have to reduce it. They're already so inexpensive. But I want to go back to the donor situation that we've been talking about. And donors are, there are a lot of people that have money sitting in their bank accounts. And you don't get joy from money sitting in your bank accounts. Yes, you feel more, you feel like you feel secure, but you could just take a little bit of it. Sometimes you could take $1,000, take $500 if it's only $50, but take something. And sometimes I know people who can take $100,000 and put it in your will or do something that will make a difference. I know you've listened to this radio show enough to know that Dean Webb is really an extraordinary gentleman, and what they do there is not to be even believed. And wouldn't it be nice for you to think that in some small way you have contributed to someone's life there? They don't say, well, just take this one person who just came in and your money's going to just support that person. It's going to support over 440 people every day, that they get to sleep in a bed, they get to eat wonderful food, they get to learn how to be passionate about something, they work. It's really an unimaginable place. If you would like a personal tour, we could arrange that also, but please do think about it. And I just want you to know you can go to faithfarm.org and either write a check, you can send it. I mean, I know you can send something, even if it's $100. Wouldn't that make you feel good that you've done something like this? And the one thing I have to say, and I know, Dean, you've told me about this, there are a lot of organizations and they do a lot of good things. But if you look at the administration, everybody has a very good job, and some people are paid very good money. That's not the way it is at Faith Farm. They really keep their administration with a very minimal amount of money compared to some of the other organizations.
We're a member of the ECFA, which is the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. It's an organization of Christian-based groups and conservative groups that want to become a member, and they're audited, and then ECFA looks at their audit, and they're certified as being efficient. When you get to those 700 organizations, if you went online to ECFA, Faith Farm is the number 1 organization in efficiency. 94.5% of every dollar goes into the program, transforming lives of people like Troy and having him become an unbelievably productive citizen in society and helping others. So 94.5% comes from that. 1% or less is our fundraising, and 4.5% is our corporate administrative overhead. So we have the lowest overhead, the lowest fundraising costs, and the highest amount that go into changing lives of anybody that I even know of. You go to look at Form 990s of other people on other organizations, and nobody's like us. And we've been doing this for 66 years. So it's a good, solid place for you to put us in your will to help change lives.
Right. And I'd like to ask you a couple of things, Troy, about this. So do you have a family? I mean, do you live on campus?
Yes, I do. I have a wife, Tracy, and a 14-year-old son by the name of Trey, who loves basketball.
So that's another part about this. So the administration, do all administrators live on campus?
Yes, ma'am.
So that way you are able to watch everything. So you really work 24 hours a day in a sense.
You know, you said something a little while ago I want to go back to, and that's, you said everybody's got a story. And some of the staff on the farm has a story too, just as well as mine. And so we're all working for one cause, and that's to see lives change because something changed us.
And so you live there, and your son lives there.
Yes.
And I think that he will certainly be something very important because he sees it, he feels it. You know, a lot of kids, they have a day, I think once a year, to go see where your parents work because they don't know what their parents do. But your son doesn't need to have that done, right? He
doesn't need to have that.
He knows what that is. So let's talk about some of the newbies who come in there.
Oh, boy.
What do you have to do to make them feel what you feel?
Love. LOVE, love, compassion, because they don't want to be there when they first get there. They know they need to be there, but they don't want to be there. And the hardest thing is keeping someone planted there. And so the only way we can do that is just show them love, unconditional love. And
because they feel unworthy, don't they?
Yes.
Many people.
Yes. And so, you know, I believe unconditional love can grab anyone's heart. And, you know, if they can't see the unconditional love that we have for them, and if they decide to leave, I pray that they come back, that they make it back.
And some do, don't they?
Some do.
And, you know, and I know we probably, when you had the wonderful gala, you had two particular speakers. And it seems like people like to come and speak and bare their soul at Faith Farm, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, it's some people, we've had executives that have come in that they don't want people to know they came through the program. They're embarrassed. They just don't want people to know. But we have other people that are so proud that they've turned their life around that they want to shout it from the rooftops, and they just want to tell everybody because they want them to experience what they've experienced, like Troy said.
Yeah, and you know the other thing, thinking about when I first met you, Dean, I don't think you had. If you had any women, there were very few. And I asked you, why don't you have more women? And you said, because it's harder. And that was and I hadn't thought about that. It's very harder for a woman.
Yeah,
to leave
especially
her
if
family
she's
and
got
her
children.
children.
If a woman doesn't know for sure, deep in her spirit, that their child, child or children are well cared for by their mom or grandmother or somebody safe, they can't stay a 9 or 10 month thing. The mothering instinct is just there, and they pull out. They don't stay the whole time.
But you now have a lot more women.
Well, we have 20 beds, and we don't, it's not always full all the time. There's a more turnover among the women because of the thing I just described with the children. And but that girl at Night of Lights that spoke, Candace, she'd been addicted for 20 years in Orlando, and her father lived in Cincinnati. And he agreed. Now, they were divorced. Her father was divorced from her birth mother and had remarried. But her father and the stepmom agreed to take her 3.5-year-old son, Christopher, if she would come in the program. So Candace, I'll never forget, I was on my golf cart from the women's program when he drove up with her, and she looked terrible. I mean, God bless her. They all do coming in there. They don't look very good. But boy, the radiance in her face 10 months later is miraculous. But anyway, I remember she was so broken. She was just so broken. But deep down, Candy had a knowledge deep down that her dad, Ken, and her stepmom were taking her son, Christopher, and going to care for him so that he was safe. She didn't have to worry about him. And she just flourished in the program because of that. So that's one of the tough things on the women's program versus the men. That's a tough one. Plus Plus, because we're a work project ministry, recovery ministry, there's a lot of heavy lifting of furniture and that kind of stuff. And so we have a few jobs that we let the women either clean or they sit in the call center and take the calls for donations, and a lighter workload in terms of lifting than the men. But we can't balance that out because so much of it is the what I call manly duties, the heavy yard work, the lifting, the recycling, the garage mechanics, all that stuff that we do, castrating cows up at Okeechobee, our cattle program. So it's all more manly, heavy lifting work. So that's why we have to have far more men than women because of the way we're funded.
So Dean Webb is the CEO, the executive director of faithfarm.org, and Troy Hardy is now the head of all operations for the 3 campuses. And Troy is actually, he's a virgin of a radio right today, but he will now be on Facebook Live, so he'll be able to go and see him, and his wife will be very proud of him, and he can talk to all his other people. But I don't have a problem with Dean bringing people from the program if they want to. A lot of people, some people are too shy, but I think it's very good for people to see those who are being helped. I remember when I worked for a big corporation here, I was one of the captains of the United Way, and our people weren't contributing what I thought they should. So I started bringing people who were being helped, the little kids, the moms, made a big difference, and money started rolling in.
Yeah.
Because some people can't really see that.
Yeah.
But if you go to Faith Farm, you have to go, when you go to the thrift shop, just remember, those people who are waiting on you are not salaried people that they found, somewhere else. They are paying their way for getting recovered, right?
That's right.
Yes.
They work for their recovery, and that's what makes it free for them, and that's great. And by the way, I do have to thank you for letting me have Troy on. I kind of I know you're hard enough to know that you weren't going to. I wanted him, since he was the new director, to observe, and that's what he wanted to do.
You didn't know me well enough.
No, I did know you. I just didn't tell Troy. He said, "No, please don't. I just want to observe." He says, "It may be another time."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, okay, we'll
Yeah,
just
we'll
let
do
that."
that, right.
But I knew
but I
you
should
wouldn't
have
do
known that she wasn't going to let me get
No,
out.
I was
right.
gonna let you go because you're a real, you're a real hero there, and I've seen that. Let's go. Are you having another graduation soon?
Next Sunday we have one up at Okeechobee. We just had Lauderdale we had 10 guys graduate last Sunday at Lauderdale, and we have a graduation next Sunday up at Okeechobee.
Okay, so now, Troy, from your standpoint, so they're gone now. They're there, and now they're not there anymore.
Yes.
Tell me how that is for them. Is that hard?
Well, it's harder for me than it is them because, after being there for 10 months, the last thing I want to hear is, things aren't going well. And, when I hear that, it makes me feel like job not well done. So that's the biggest for me is that, when that person leaves there, that they prosper in life. I want to hear the good stories when they come back. I have a job, I'm married, and things are well.
Okay, but do you have support groups? So let's say they leave. Is there a way that you can watch over them in a sense of a support system?
Well, there's some things that we have in place at Faith Farm. We have an alumni program where they can reach back and come back to the homecomings. And
every Friday night we have Celebrate
Recovery.
They're
okay. See, that's
hosted at the church where
that's
a lot
really
of people
important.
come.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can volunteer if they want to, too. They can
they
come back
can?
and, yes, they can come back and volunteer as well, but they have to apply to volunteer.
But now you all do find a job for them, don't you? You help them do that.
Yes, we have a career center where they can go in and apply for jobs. And actually, their last 4 weeks there, we show them how to dress and how to do an application. We take them through the run of getting a job. And if they decide not to do that, they can go to Fort Lauderdale for our Omega program, which housed them for
6 months.
6 months for college or either
Or
work.
Yeah, but a lot of them want to restore their life with their family. So if they stay there, then they have to give that up. So they probably want to go home, don't they? I mean, they can't do that and then be home too.
Well, not everybody wants to go home. Just the ones that have families. Some guys need to go back home to work to help the mother financially carry the load. Just like Dean said about the ladies, the men have to go back home and support the wife and kids because some of them live with the moms and dad while the husband's doing the program. So
So,
they,
yeah.
And sometimes, like we had a guy Sunday, one of the 10 graduates. You would know exactly the company if I told you. It's a massive, massive company. But of course, this guy's addiction problem, the dad just couldn't let him be around anything. So he was going home to retutor under his dad to help take over the company. And so a lot of people, if they've got a life they come back for, they can do it. Some, like Troy said, have nothing. So we try and help them get established with a job or school, scholarship, Pell Grants, whatever it takes.
You know, I'm just sitting here listening to that. That is so unusual that you would do that because so many places, as you know, places that are very expensive, and then, okay, you just graduated, you're fine, goodbye, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that must be so scary for them. They haven't really found anything to do, or I can see why your program works so well.
oh, I love it. I mean, if a person comes there, they can get a GED. We also have a GED program for them as well.
Well, I heard that. In fact, I've told that to people. I think that's really special, the fact that they can't leave. They can't graduate without that. Well, I just have to tell you that this has been just absolutely, absolutely fantastic. And you all are really, just give me a big face there, big face there. You've been on Facebook Live. It's been wonderful
Yes.
having you on, Troy.
Thank
Really.
you. Thank you. You're so gracious. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, we do this, and we will definitely have more, bring some more people on. We love that you have from time to time done that. So thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.